Welcome to Beyond the O.R with Dr. Kevin Brenner. I'm a board-certified plastic surgeon in Beverly Hills. I want to take you beyond my world of plastic surgery, diving deep into exciting hot topics and delving even deeper into compelling characters that I've met along the way. We'll be talking with attorneys, actors, comedy writers, Navy SEALs, and many other fascinating and inspiring people with truly intriguing stories to share. So let's jump right in. Welcome to the show. Today I'm really very super excited for our guest. We've been trying to get him on for some time now.
He's a busy man.
With us today is actor. Can we say actor?
You can. I'm pretty much done with that, though.
Yeah, I thought so. Most importantly, former Navy SEAL, Joel Lambert. We were been talking about trying to get you on here for a long time, and because you don't live in LA, it was initially we were going to do a remote.
Right.
But it's so much better to have you in person.
So much better.
So much better to have you in person. Well, so welcome to the show.
Thank you.
To the set. Welcome
Happy to be here.
Welcome to your lovely over there. And so you and I met last year when I was taking care of your better half.
Yes.
And I probably attacked you with all my questions about the teens and stuff.
That's all right. I had plenty of questions for you,
obsession. It's a little obsession.
A little bit of an obsession. But so, you know, anytime I can get one of you guys to talk to me, I'm like, I want as much. I read as much as I can, and I watch as much as I can because it's just super fascinating to me. And as Elizabeth and I have discussed many times, the guests that we have on this show, the show's not about plastic surgery because I'm so bored of talking about plastic surgery. I wanted it to be about things that I find so cool and interesting, and you definitely fall in that category. So welcome.
Thank you.
So tell us, if you will, because I am so curious how not just you, but how anyone. And I've read many biographies about this, but how anyone is like, sign me up for the SEAL teams. Because, I mean, or any special forces, you have to be like not right in the head to be like jumping out of airplanes, helicopters, scuba diving with sharks, getting shot at by Afghanistan citizens.
Or Pakistanis, yes,
or anyone. I mean, like, how does someone make that decision?
That, I think, is the most interesting question and the most interesting part for me of my story and how I ended up where I ended up in life is what brought me to that decision where that was the path that I chose. And it goes way, way back to really, the place I can really point to is when I was about 10 years old. My dad had a friend who had joined the Navy, and he had come over for dinner, and I'm 9, 10 years old. I don't really know what's going on, but this guy was having dinner. We had dinner with him, and I'd known him since I was my whole life. And then after dinner, my dad and he and my mom were in the living room drinking coffee, doing the Better Homes and Gardens kind of, post-dinner routine, and he was talking about his Navy stuff. My dad was fascinated, and he was talking about some Navy whale thing that he had gone to, and they had tied him up and tied his hands behind his back and tied his feet together and threw him in the deep end of the pool. And me, I was a water baby growing up. I was the kid in the deep end of the pool when they're blowing whistles at, get out, with this mask and fins. I was the pool nerd. And so I'm listening to this story about this guy being tied up and thrown in the water to survive, and then him swallowing water and passing out and then pulling him out and reviving him. And he said they told him, get back in and finish it. He was like, no, I'm done. And that story scared the bejesus out of me.
I have heart palpitations right now.
So no shit for excuse me, can I say that on this podcast?
Oh, yeah,
okay.
yeah.
All right, cool.
Feel free.
No, we've done much worse today.
Okay, cool. So my whole life from that point on, every time I got in the pool, that would cross my mind. I'm like, what would it be like to be tied up in the water, just forced to survive? And that it got in the lizard stem of my brain, and I never got it out. And so, of course, as I grew up, I got to realize that the whale teams, it was the SEAL training. He had gone to SEAL training, and he was in a portion called drown proofing, where you're tied up and you're thrown in on the deep end of the pool
Right.
to survive and
Scary.
to do a series of exercises in a very controlled environment, but under extreme duress. And that fascinated me, and it also scared the shit out of me. And when I got to my early 20s, a bunch of other things happened, but I'm in my early 20s and I have this weird compulsion in me where I see right in front of me, I see the broad path, the broad, well-lit street, and a girlfriend and marriage and kids and a job. And then off to the left, here's this dark trail that's overgrown, and I didn't know what it was, but I knew I had to take that hard left off the pathway and go into the woods. And I thought, well, what does that mean? What does that look like? What is that path? And I didn't know. And so for about a year, I kind of searched myself as to what it was that represented to me. And what it was I thought, well, should I go climb Mount Everest? Or should I go, be an extreme sports guy? Should I, move down to Los Angeles and train with, the Gracies? And, what does that mean? And ultimately it was the thing that scared me the most. And I thought, well, all those things I could do, but the thing that I wasn't sure I could do was BUDS, was SEAL training. I'm not sure that I'm able to do that. And that's the thing that scares me the most. So that's what I have to do. If I do anything less than that, what I'm not sure that I can do, then what is this life for? So
Wow.
I started looking into, reading everything I could read, looking at everything I could look on, and at that point in time, this is the early 90s, and so there's not a ton of stuff out there on the SEAL
Right.
teams. There's a few novels and a few memoirs of the Vietnam era, but I found some stuff on BUDS and basic underwater demolition SEAL training, the screening process for people who want to become Navy SEALs. And I started talking to some recruiters and started just training my ass off in my hometown of Longview, Kelso, Washington, and just trained and trained and trained. And then I joined the Navy and I shipped off to boot camp and went to BUDS and went through class 220 Hell Week and then rolled to 222. And a guy, in fact, not during drown proofing, which ended up not being the most difficult part of training for me. It was just the part that stuck in my brain. But had a guy die in the pool when I went through training. It happens. It's a train like we fight, and so there's extreme things that can happen. But it is a very rare fraternity, and it also is a pathway, I think, to self-realization and enlightenment. And when you go through a process like BUDS, it is and especially some of the sections in it, like Hell Week, it is a peeling of the onion of your soul. It's just layers being peeled away. And you will get, a lot of guys find a rotten spot and that's it. But if you keep peeling and you keep peeling, it's very painful, but you will be faced with, at some point, the very nugget, the very kernel of the core of your being. And once you see that, you'll come back out and you'll never be the same.
So is it,
Wow.
was it like you had this desire to serve your country? I mean, because there's so many other ways to do that, or was it like you just wanted to do something that you didn't think you could do and prove to yourself that you could do it?
Well, there was a combination of a lot of things. Of course, I wanted to serve my country, and I wanted to be a part of this kind of a brotherhood, and I wanted the action and the adventure and all the things that come along with that. But ultimately, it was a quest inside myself. I don't want to get too
Philosophical, but
on this.
yeah, I think
That's what it
you
is.
should,
Yeah.
because it seems like the seed was planted at a very young age,
Yes.
where that seed, hearing that story, fed something in you that maybe you didn't know was there.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
it flourished into something like you said, which was in the in the back of your brain, always going, wait a minute, what about this? What about this?
Yes. I think that this goes for almost all of us in our quests as human beings on this planet, is at some point the crossroads are offered to you throughout your existence. And as you get older and older, they'll become fewer and fewer as you keep refusing them, as you keep ignoring these offerings until they're no longer there. But at some point, I think in order to live fully, you have to take that hard left off of the beaten path and confront and walk straight into the thing that scares you the most. There's a Buddhist saying, which is walk straight ahead, turn neither to the left or the right, just walk straight ahead, one foot after the other, and walk right through it. And that's life in that, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think about myself and just all the decisions I made. And medical school is a scary proposition for
Absolutely.
a lot of people. But over and above that, it's like once you get in, you're in. It's not like buds. Like buds is like hang on for dear life.
Getting in is just the beginning. No guarantees from there.
But like when you decide like what you want to do and like what residency you want to go into, like, you know, a surgical residency can be a very scary proposition, especially since my beginnings were like with general surgery. It's brutal. I mean, on the medical level, I kind of equate it to like what of medicine, like the special forces of medicine, because it really is brutal. I mean, it's not Hell Week where you're up for 160 hours, but we had, you know, like 110-hour work weeks.
There are lots of ways to get to that, I guess, and it's not just being kicked in the nuts for 160 hours, you know, with no sleep and yelled at and all that. There are so many different ways to get to that core, that nugget of who we are. And so when people ever say things like it's not SEAL teams, it's not buds, well, it doesn't have to be. You know, there's so many different ways, so many different keys that unlock that door. You know, it's just a matter of, are you going to unlock that door, I think.
So once you were in the teams, and did you find that like everyone has just had like a kind of a very different makeup? Because every time I read about someone like you, it's always you guys are so different, and so unique. And the coolest thing I find is that every SEAL that I've ever read about, met, or talked to is, you know, one of the more intelligent people that you've ever seen, and especially guys like you who get out of the teams and then are so successful in having a second career and reinventing yourself. It's, you know, not everyone can do that. I mean, you hear stories and see movies and read books about veterans who just can't make that shift, and who can't waylay it into a second career and have a, you know, coming home. I always hear is I was never in the military, but coming home was always the hardest part. And so it's just so interesting to me that it just seems that like in the teams there's such a high percentage of like success, and I think it's just like the never quit mentality, right?
Yes. So I think you're hitting on it exactly, which is we are so diverse. Guys just across the spectrum. There's guys that are just knuckle draggers, you know, just a run through a wall kind of, you know, knuckle dragging, hairy Neanderthal, and some great guys.
No names.
Yeah, no names. Great guys. And then there's dudes that are just so highly intelligent who have given up careers at Wall Street, or when I was a BUDS instructor, there were a couple of kids that came through that had their degrees and have been working in, you know, on Wall Street in the financial sector, had amazing careers ahead of them, and then after 9/11, they're like, you know what, I need something more. This is not fulfilling my soul, and they give all that up, and they came through as an enlisted man just because there was no guarantee as an officer. Even though they had all the qualifications to become an officer, they just came through because they just wanted to be a team guy. And so you get guys just across the spectrum, and I'm probably more philosophical and spiritual than the majority of the team guys that you'll come across, but I'm by no means an anomaly. But there's a commonality that we all have, which is that never quit, that ability to master yourself and push through the most difficult situations under the most extreme duress with a smile. There's an ability to relax under the most challenging circumstances, which I'm sure as a surgeon, there's a lot of commonality in there as well that you probably can relate to. But there are certain characteristics that we all share that make us who we are, make us successful going through the training and in the environment operationally. And then that, once you get out, you know, there's so many different, those qualities that we all have in common really serve you in a second career or in creating another type of path forward or another achievement or climbing another mountain. One of the things that I found is that once you climb a mountain like that, like the SEAL teams, which is a very difficult, very rewarding mountain to climb, you know, when you look back on the journey, you think the whole time you're looking, it's when I get to the top, it's when I get to the top, that's the good stuff, when I get to the top, and that keeps you going. But when you look back, it's the absolute blackest times, the times where you're emotionally and nothing left and couldn't see the next step ahead of you, but you just kept moving forward in the blind, and you look back and like, that's where the magic happened. That's where I transformed myself. That's where, you know, I threw off what didn't suit me and I stepped into something bigger than myself. Those are the moments. And then you climb the mountain, you get to the top, and you're like, this is what I strove for. This is what I sacrificed everything for this moment. And you're looking at the top and you enjoy the view for about 5 minutes, and you look over and they're like, there's the next mountain. There it is. And you just go back down. And this is what some people don't get, I think. You go back down. Once you climb the mountain, you go back down, and you don't want to stay on the mountain. Staying on the mountain is a bad thing. Go back down and start going up the next mountain. Just keep moving.
So
Keep
what
moving.
I like that.
What keeps you moving? And I'm talking about like deep inside, because I had a rough upbringing, and I had to kind of fend for myself. And I was like, I would say fearless when I was a younger.
Right.
Now I'm very fearful. So as a lot of people are, what is the gold nugget you can give me and the listeners, like when there's, because it's a state of mind, it's mind over matter.
Yes.
I always go to the worst case scenario, or I make this, like I say, a feature film in my head, and the fear paralyzes me. So what gold nugget? Because I'm sure that your life, I can hear you, but I can't even imagine what it would be like. I mean, I literally have goosebumps. What gold nugget can you give me, like somebody like me, and our listeners, of that paralyzing fear that you have?
Well, what I would say is, first off, wherever your fear is, move right towards it. Just move right towards it. Don't move to the left or the right, and move right towards it and through it. And that's the only way. But I don't know if this is a gold nugget or not, but what I found when I was going through BUDS is that BUDS is, at a best case scenario, 6 months. And if you start, your every day is brutal. And if you start and think, I've got 6 months to go before this is done with, and then you get to the team and it's not done with, it's just BUDS. It never gets easier.
Amuse bouche.
Yeah, exactly. It never gets easier, it just gets better. There are times that rivaled anything I experienced in BUDS. It was just, now I'm not trying to prove myself as much. You know, it gets better, it's not easier. But you can't think of the whole thing that you have to do and survive.
Right.
So you think of BUDS is divided into phases. And so on the weekends, when you're warm and you're dry and everything's great and you're well fed, you can think of, you know what, I got 3 more weeks to finish first phase or second phase. You don't think of anything beyond that. Think of that. And then the week starts and it's 4 a.m. and you're getting out of bed and everything hurts and everything's still raw and there's scabs all over your body, and you know you're going to be running into the ocean in a matter of 15 or 20 minutes in all your clothes, getting wet and starting the whole week again. And you think, you know what, I'm not thinking about anything past, this is Monday, I've got a whole week ahead of me, I'll finish the day. And then I'll allow myself to get emotional, I'll allow myself to think about quitting, I'll allow myself all these things I'm holding at bay, but I'll finish today. And then you're running the ocean at 5 a.m. and the instructors are yelling at you with bullhorns, and the day is just going to get worse and worse and worse, and the salt water is stinging every cut and every abrasion that you have. Your uniform gets impregnated with sand every day. And so on your collar, in your armpits, in your crotch,
like
in your belt
sandpaper.
line, it just abrades down. And so you have these, when you get like a road rash and it gets that white pussy
Right.
grossness all over, you've got that just all over your body, and you're going in the ocean in the salt water every 5 minutes or so, and it's just misery. And so that day is going to be a miserable day, so I can make it to lunch. I'll make it to lunch. Lunch is my goal. Everything, I won't think about anything past lunch. And once I'm sitting down with food in front of me, you know what, if I still feel bad, I'll think about quitting then, but not right now. I'm going to make it to lunch. And then you're doing the 4-mile timed run on the sand, and it hurts, and you're having to push yourself so hard in order to make the time. You're like, I'll finish this run. I'll finish this run. I'm not going to quit in the middle of the run. I'll finish the run. I'll finish the run. And then it starts getting even worse, and you're like, I'll make it to the turnaround point. I'll make it to the turnaround point. It gets even worse. I'll make it to the next beach marker. I can make it to the beach marker, and then I'll think about whatever I need to think about. And then it's like 3 more steps. 1, 2, 3. 3 more steps. 1, 2, 3. I can make it another breath. Another breath. And you just keep taking all of the things that are outside this one present moment, and you just let go of all of that. And you just exist in a moment that is manageable. And eventually that brings you down to this one precise moment, which is all there ever is in existence. There is no future. That's just a figment of your imagination, or the past is just in your memories. The future will never exist by definition. The only thing there ever is this one boundless now, this one expansive now. That is enlightenment. And you just keep letting things go until you're existing in this one moment. And that is how you do buds, and that is how you do something when you are skydiving into a combat zone and you're tangled around in your parachute and you're having to work through whatever it is that you need to work through in order to survive this. When you're climbing up the side of a moving ship and you have 100 pounds of gear on you and you don't think you can make that next thing, and your options to fall 100 feet down into the propeller of this ship or keep climbing. When people are shooting at you and you're shooting back and you're executing commands, that's the only way that you survive in any of those circumstances, is just narrowing it down to this one existence right here. And that is there's a Zen saying that the swordsman, the warrior, has no need for meditation, because if he is not in this present moment, he gets cut, he gets killed. So in combat, you're pulled down to this one present moment, and that is enlightenment. That is the understanding of the reality of everything that is. And so that's what I found in order to make it through some of the most difficult points in my life, is nothing exists but this one moment, and in this one moment, I can breathe. I'm not bleeding out.
That's great. I'm sweating. I'm
She
gonna
needs a
need
break.
a Xanax after this. No, I'm just kidding.
So like, what was,
Woo.
if you can, I don't know if you can condense it, but like, what's an example of like one moment when you were like tested? I'm not even talking about buds. Maybe
Life.
maybe you were in combat. Like, just you're like, I just don't know if I'm gonna make it through this.
There's been a few of those. I've had some in Afghanistan, had some in buds, had some doing my show Manhunt. In fact, one time in South Africa, there was an instance where the hunter force basically started shooting at me, which was not supposed to happen, but it was very exciting.
Like live rounds?
Yeah.
That was for the
'Cause we're in
Discovery
Africa,
Channel,
yeah, we're
right?
in Africa, and so generally the hunter force, they're carrying their weapons, but we'd have our safety guy check, make sure that nobody's chambered rounds, nobody's got magazines full of weapons or of live rounds when they're hunting me. And
Alec Baldwin them.
Exactly. These guys actually understand their weapons. They're not, they're not Alec Baldwin, but still, people who understand weapons are totally cool with all the checks and all this, because they understand how these things work. Alec Baldwin does not, and he thinks he's better than that. And so then, of course, this is how things happen. People like Alec Baldwin is how people get shot like this. People with Alec Baldwin's attitude. So you got to humble yourself and.
So how did they start shooting with live rounds?
Well, we were in Africa, so we're doing this hunt in Kruger National Park, which is full of leopard and lion.
South Africa?
Yeah.
That was Manhunt, right?
Yes.
And is that the one with the sharks and the lions and the? Okay.
This one, Manhunt, is where I inserted into foreign countries. I'd skydive in places I wasn't supposed to be. I'd cross borders under trucks. I'd come up out of the ocean, and then I would ping that country's Special Operations Force, Fugitive Recovery Team, or Specialty Tracking Unit, and let them know I was there cutting an electric fence or something. There would be some prearranged something that would let them know the hunt was on, and then they would come after me with all of their assets, whatever assets they use to hunt down fugitives or track bad guys, and then they would try to take me down. They would hunt me for anywhere from 1 to 4 days, and I would be doing deception trails, booby traps, primitive skills, going to ground, and they would anti-tracking, counter-tracking, and they would be using dogs, drones, thermal imaging, SWAT teams, ATVs, horseback, whatever they happened to have, to try to track me down and capture me before
But
I
not
made it to an extract
explosives.
point. Not explosives, yeah. I mean, everyone understood this was like a full exercise, you know, for the
Right.
full country would use all of their assets to try to take me down. But we were doing this in Africa with a very elite anti-poaching team, great guys. But they thought they were going to have me by lunchtime. They thought, and I love being underestimated. That was the greatest thing ever when someone comes in like, oh, we'll have you by lunchtime. I'm like, awesome. I love it. I love that. I love that. Underestimate me all day long because that's going to make it just so much sweeter. So much sweeter. But we're in Kruger. So there's lion, there's all the big fight. There's Cape buffalo, there's rhino, there's black rhino, there's white rhino, there's leopard, there's hyenas, there's everything there. So we're not going to be in there with empty weapons. And so the guys hunting me and everything, they had their weapons that they have when they're in doing their anti-poaching operations. And so
Did they think you looked like a hyena?
no, so this one guy was certain that they were just going to take me down like that, and he was getting very upset that his trackers they couldn't take me down as quickly as they thought they would. They didn't take me down at all. But the point is that at one point I was moving through, getting close to my extract point, and somebody saw me, and they made the mistake of yelling from a long ways away because the whole theme, or the whole I guess the rules of the engagement were they needed to get within 20 meters of me, and then if 20 meters, then they go down, they take me down, however they take me down. But just like in a real situation, if they're tracking someone down and it's not just a shoot to kill thing, they have to actually capture the person. Then if they see me from 400 meters away, 500 meters away, and yell at me, cool, I know where you're at, I'm gone. You're nowhere near. But this guy got so excited, he was yelling, stop! And he chambered around, he shot kind of at me, but kind of down into the ground, but he actually fired off a live round towards me, which was, I'm like, okay, so that's how we're gonna play. That's how it's going. My booby traps are gonna get a lot more
Like,
tricky.
where's my agent?
No, So they started chasing me, and I had a guy with me who had a weapon as well because we're in Kruger, but he was a smoker and he just couldn't keep up. So me and my camera guy was a great athlete, so we sprinted away and we were gone. And so then after about 45 minutes of running, losing him, I stopped down, figure out where I'm at with my map and my compass and everything, and then also realized we've lost everybody. Nobody knows where we're at. And long story short, well, shorter, is that they started moving in towards where they saw me running towards, and they found a bunch of lion tracks, and lions were in that area hunting, like right then.
Oh my
And
God.
so with cats, anything moving quickly, running, that's like rolling a ball of string in front of a cat. That's just
Look like a gazelle.
exactly. And it's not that they're going to kill me because they're man eaters or they are hungry for me. It's just like a cat. You put a laser pointer in front of a cat, what's it going to do? It's hardwired into that. It's hardwired into that animal, and so it became a very dangerous situation. And so they're yelling at me, stop! They're lion hunting. The game's over. And I'm like, yeah, no, that's
You're like,
no.
game on.
Yeah, game on, exactly. And I don't know, and I ended up running into the lions, and then backing off from that. That was scary. But then, actually, the moment that was scarier for me is just me and my
Just sidebar,
camera guy,
scary.
was the lions didn't. We had a little stare down, but lions backed up. Lions didn't come after me, and I backed off, and everything was cool.
The lions were scared of you, Joel.
Never turn your back on a
Did
lion.
you have a moment where you're like, I can't outrun this lion, but I can outrun my guy who's got empathy?
my camera guy?
My camera
no, my camera guy's pretty fast. I might have lost that one. But what I did think was the thing is that every animal in Africa, you react differently to it when you encounter it. Some things you get big and you get aggressive, and some things you back away very slowly. Some things you climb a tree. Some things you don't. I mean, you need to know how to react to each one of these, how they're going to possibly come at you. Elephant, they do a mock charge, or all these things. And so I'm thinking, when I ran to lions, I'm like, okay, lions, don't turn around. Do not turn around. Back up, nice and slow, nice and easy. Move laterally, and then get out of the line of sight, and then move off very calmly, and which worked, which was great. But then we're a bunch of crazy stuff happened
Take
with the
notes.
crocodiles. But I remember at one point I was in some elephant grass that was probably 15 feet high. It was a big elephant grass. And I'm moving through it, and there's tunnels, you know, because big things, elephants, rhinos, stuff move through elephant grass, and they leave these big tunnels. And I'm moving through this big tunnel. I'm like, something big moved through here somewhat recently because the tunnel was perfectly formed. And then, have you ever seen rhinoceros shit? Rhinoceros shit looks like Pez candy dispensers. It comes out in like little cylinders.
Oh, little squares.
Yeah, like little circle squares, you know,
Right.
little cylinders. And so there's a whole pile of fresh,
candy.
hot rhino shit. I'm like, okay, so there's a rhinoceros. I'm in a
Oh, my
rhinoceros
God.
tunnel that's moved through here very quickly, and there's some very recent rhinoceros shit. So that's, and I'm just, let's get through here. And I've got a tomahawk. I'm like, great. I got it in my hand.
Is
though.
that all you had?
That's all I had. Well, I had another fixed blade. I had a fixed blade and a tomahawk. And then my camera guy's here. Joel, fix your mic. I'm like, dude,
You're like,
not right
shut
now.
the fuck
no,
up.
well, so exactly. It's exactly. Like, shut the fuck up, dude. Just stay behind me and just film shit. We're not stopping to get. I'm not explaining anything to you right now. We're getting out of here.
You're not going to Starbucks
And,
right now?
yeah, and I remember those were some moments where I was like, I could really no shit die. I mean, I'm in Kruger National Park. I just ran into some lions. There's fresh rhino shit. I've got no weapon with me. It's me and a camera guy who's not the sharpest. Great camera
He wants
guy,
to fix
not-
your mic.
Yeah, no. And this could get very badly very quickly. And I thought, you know what? Because he had yelled at me, you know, everything stop, stop, stop. I knew what was going on. But then I thought, you know, this is so beautiful. We've been out here for like 3 days. These hunters, these native trackers, and these South African Special Forces guys, Boer War kind of guys, and they've been putting everything they can out to track me and try to take me down. I've been using
Wow, that's
all
where
of
you
my-
went?
Yeah, and I'm like, all of my skills. I've been doing everything I could to run all of my ops as best I can, covering my tracks, laying booby traps, deception trails, all the things. This is beautiful. This is a beautiful man to man, human to human. We've laid it all out there. I'm like, it is better to finish and die than quit and live in this. I want this to be beautiful. We're going to finish it. And so we finished it, and it was amazing. And I'm still alive. And it was, but those moments.
And you never saw the rhinoceros?
No, never saw the rhino.
So it's safe
But
to
I
say.
did end up in accidentally, the hunt ended in a Cape buffalo pen. So I'm very lucky that the Cape buffalo didn't find where I cut into their pen
Well,
to
and
get
then-
my extract point.
And then, not only that, but you also did another show with all the world top predators:
Yeah.
polar bears, lions, great white sharks, spotted
hyenas,
hyenas. Okay, it's
Oh, yeah,
safe to
oh,
say that you're an
so-
adrenaline junkie, right?
A little bit, right? Walk me through this one,
Okay.
and let me set this up. And I'm very curious about this,
Okay.
especially in light of the shirt that you're wearing. So I just last weekend completed my open water certification.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm like scuba diving is on my forebrain now.
Awesome.
So you are. How many times have you parachuted in landed in open water?
You know, I don't know. Quite a few. That's one of the things that we do a lot of, jumping into water, yes.
Right. So, and have you ever encountered a shark just in either in real life or in training where you're like you land in the water, you're like got all your gear and you're trying and you're scuba diving to wherever your extract point is?
Not really, but you don't really know because let me set
Because
this up a
that
little
would
bit.
scare the living shit out.
Oh
of
yeah,
me.
well let me tell you, let me paint a picture for you so you can kind of vibe on this. You're doing your open water scuba, you're breathing scuba,
I'm
you know,
sweating.
you're breathing air and it comes out, you know, it's noisy in the
Right.
water. Fish and animals don't come up to you. But when you're diving Draeger, which is what we use, closed circuit pure oxygen rebreather, there's no exhaust of bubbles. So you breathe in pure oxygen, and then you breathe out oxygen and some carbon dioxide, and it goes back into the system. It goes through a scrubber of soda lime, which pulls the CO2 out, and then that oxygen is.
So we use on anesthesia machines.
Okay, there you go. So then a little more oxygen is added to make up for the CO2 that's been scrubbed out, and you breathe that in. So it's a closed circuit. It's closed circuit. So there's no exhaust of bubbles. And what that does is it makes you a fish in the eyes of other fish. So things come up to you, and things don't naturally run away because when you're breathing scuba and you're exhausting that air, that scares all the fish away. Now you're breathing Draeger, it doesn't scare anything away. So things will come up to you.
Look like an actual seal.
You actually do, yes, which is the food of sharks, which is a bad thing. So there, and the other thing is we dive at night. We operate at night. We operate, from sunset to sunrise. We rarely operate in daytime hours if we can help it, because we want to take every environmental advantage and turn it to ourselves. So now you're diving at night. You're driving a closed circuit rebreather, and you can't see anything. And you're diving for hours and hours and hours, navigating underwater, trying to get to whatever it is you're trying to get to. And so I don't know if you've been in much bioluminescence diving yet, or when the ocean's glowing green, all those little plankton are putting off their little glow, their lightning bug. So sometimes there's a lot of it, sometimes there's a little bit. There's always some. And you don't realize it until you're 15, 20 feet down, pitch black, and it's dark out, and then you can see bioluminescence a little bit. So you're diving, you can't talk to anybody. You've got your buddy next to you that's navigating with you. So there's two of you, you're diving along, and I look over and I can just see a vague ghostly green outline of my buddy moving through the water. That's the only thing I can see. And occasionally one of the little bioluminescent guys will come over my dive board or my hands, and I'll see a little tiny glow. And then you feel something, and you look up, and over there's a big something that's a ghostly green glow moving through. And you can't tell if it's a tuna that's 20 feet away or if it's a great white shark or orca that's 100 feet away, but it's moving. But little fish move differently than big fish. So you see a big, something, very lazily moving through the water, and you feel it. There's something that just, you feel
It's
the presence.
dun, dun,
Yeah,
dun,
exactly.
dun,
You feel
dun,
something. Yeah.
That's what I would feel.
And there's nothing you can do about it. You just keep diving.
Wow.
So that'll freak you out. That will definitely get your attention as you're diving through. I've had skydiving into the ocean at night. Once I had it didn't have anything to do with predators or anything. It had to do with me getting tangled up in my parachute in the water. And that was a scary moment. We were doing a double duck, which is where you jump, you push your Zodiacs, your little boats, out of the back of a C-130, and they are under a parachute, and they land in the water, and we all jump out after them. There's chem lights on them, and so you can see where they're at, and we're all in a line under our round canopies coming into the water. And as you're coming in to the water, you're steering to get close to where the boats are, because you want to be as close to the boats as possible. You don't want to be 2 miles swimming to the boats. And all of your gear and stuff is in the boats, so you're pretty slick. There's not a lot on you. And as you're coming down under, and this is dark, it's night, of course, you're coming down under your parachute, you're taking off your harness, because you don't want to be in a full parachute harness when you're in the water, but you also don't want to take it off at 2,000 feet.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
So you take off all the chest straps and everything, kind of get everything loose on you, and you have 2 leg straps, they're coming up under your crotch, and they have quick releases on them. And so if you can, you get your fins on your feet as well when you're up in the air, so you're prepared to swim. And you can't judge distance, over water. There's no trees. There's nothing that you can see. Okay, there's a tree, so I kind of get an idea how high I am. Yeah, those little white caps down there could be giant waves, and you're just too high, or they could be tiny little white caps, and you're real close. There's just no way to tell. And so you wait until your feet. The idea is you wait till your feet touch the water, and you pop these little quick releases. You throw your arms up, and you slide out of the harness into the water and swim away from this parachute that's just collapsed on top of the water. That's the idea.
That's what the booklet says.
That's what you're trained to do. Yes. So the setup on this is that we had circled this landing zone in the water 4 or 5 times that night, because there are very low parameters for wind and for chop for us to do this, because guys have died doing this before. And so it has to be very still for us to do this operation in training or in combat. This was a training operation. And so we circled the landing zone 3 or 4 times, and every time we circled it, the jump master was like, no jump. The wind's gusting too high, too high. And so we're sitting in the bird, like, can we just go home? Can we just land the bird and just cank this thing? Because it's just not happening. And then the last time, we're gonna do one more pass. The last time, jump master's, okay, go. I'm like, really? The wind calmed down?
Been 30 seconds?
Exactly. So we jump out, and as soon as I got out of the prop wash of the plane and I felt the wind, I'm like, oh, we're still way out of parameters. Somebody pushed us out when they shouldn't have. And so I'm seeing the boats just whip off with the wind, and I'm whipping off with the wind. And so as we're coming down, my feet touch the water, and I pop my my leg straps, and one pops and one doesn't. And so I'm not sliding out. I land in the water, and I'm still all tangled up with everything. And my parachute is still full, so it's pulling me through the water, trying to breathe and everything as I'm trying to get this thing open, and it won't open, so I've popped the cape well with the shoulder strap, so it basically pops the lines from the parachute, so the parachute collapsed. It wasn't full, yeah. And then I'm like, wow, that's bad. Finally get the leg strap undone, and I'm starting to kind of swim off, and the chop is really bad. It's bad, and the parachute's getting pushed into me as I'm trying to get my fins on and get ready to go swim over to the boat. The chop and the swell is pushing the parachute into me and all the lines into me. I'm like, oh, that's okay, I'll just get my fins on and then I'll swim off. And then the parachutes just float on top of the water, and then the lines.
You dive in with your tank?
No. So all our stuff, this wasn't a diving operation. So the boats land, and then we swim over to the boats, get in, rig the motors up, fill the boats all the way up with air because they're kind of halfway inflated when we drop them out. Grab your stuff and then go pick up everybody, and then we drive our boats off to whatever we're going to do. So this wasn't a diving operation, but we jumped into the water. And so everything's being pushed in, and parachutes float, and then all the lines kind of float a little under the surface, and then they drop down to where your harness, which has a little metal and everything is heavy, is hanging down 5, 6, 8, 10 feet. And then it just kind of floats like that. And it's getting all pushed into me. And then I feel all the lines all around me. I'm like, that's not good, but let me just swim out of the way. And then the lines start tightening up, and I realized that all the chop had broken the surface tension on the parachute, and so the parachute now is under the water, and so it's starting to sink.
And you're still
attached to it. And I'm tangled up. All the lines are tangled up on my helmet, my neck, my arms, my legs, my waist, and I'm feeling them all tighten up. I grab my knife and I start cutting them, but they're just all over. They're all over me, and they're pulling me down. And I'm starting to go down, and I pull you have a little inflatable life vest. I pop that kept me up for a little bit, and I start going down. So I take a big breath and I grab a whistle, and this is, when you blow your whistle, you're really in trouble. This is no shit, somebody come help me. And there's several boats, safety boats out there, because it was a training operation. So I blow my whistle, I blow it 3 times, and I turn the strobe light on my helmet. And I have it taped to my helmet. It's off, but I turned it on, and I start going out underwater. And I hear a boat coming over me, and I take a big breath, and I go underwater. And I'm like, so this is it, this is how it ends. And I'm going underwater.
You've had several of those moments.
Yeah. This one was one of the first, this is how it ends though. And I go under, and then I feel hands on me, and the boat had come up, and they saw my strobe light underwater. It hadn't flooded out. The safety guys jumped in, grabbed me, pulled me up, cut me loose. And it took about 5 minutes to compose myself, then jump back in the water, and Charlie Mike.
Oh my God. That's
So
insane.
That's a little nerve-wracking.
And here I was going to ask you about being a commercial actor.
That is frightening.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Well, this is
good
a
story.
perfect segue to now you have this game,
Yes.
Escape and Evade.
Escape and Evade Mobile. Yes.
Mobile. Tell us about that.
Okay, so this is very exciting to me, because I feel like it's kind of the culmination of everything I've been doing for my whole life. So SEAL teams got out, and I did a bunch of shows for Discovery Channel, survival and the escape and evasion, which is kind of a military term for when you're kind of screwed, you're behind enemy lines. It's Rambo, it's first blood, and they're all coming after you. They know where you're at, and you have to survive and make it to a place where they can get you out. But they're coming after you, and you don't have really any assets left. And that was the nature of my show, of Manhunt. And so when I was doing the show, I would constantly get interviewed, and fans would ask, and they'd be like, well, when are you going to take a fan out? Or when are you going to do it like an online course for tracking and all these booby traps? People love the booby traps and the tracking and the deception trails and all the kind of anti-encounter tracking that you have to do when people are chasing and hunting you down, whether it's in the wilderness or whether it's in a built-up area. And I thought, well, one, my camera guy has gotten me compromised several times, so I'm not going to take Kim Kardashian out there, 'cause that's just
Take
a
Dr.
no-go.
Brenner.
Yeah, and I don't
Let's
want
see
to.
what he's made of.
And I'm not gonna do. I don't want to do an online course or anything. But then after I stopped doing the shows, I got in a motorcycle accident and smashed my foot, and so I had to take a couple years off from doing discovery stuff. Hard to run through the jungle when your foot is strawberry jelly. But
I thought you were supposed to like just work through the pain.
yeah,
No?
yeah, no. Apparently that one was too much for me. So
That one.
the shattered ankle was I couldn't get past that one. I'm a weak genes. So I did some virtual reality stuff at the Northern Lights up in the Arctic Circle while I was not doing stuff for Discovery Channel, and I got really fascinated with virtual reality. But virtual reality is interesting, but it's limited. But augmented reality, where digital overlays over the real world, that is where all the big companies are spending billions of dollars. Apple, Google, Alphabet, Samsung, they're all spending billions of dollars on hardware and software for augmented reality, for training, for teaching, for military applications, for education, for tourism, for gaming especially. And so I thought, well, that's a perfect way to do booby traps, do tracking, to train people through augmented reality. What if I do an app? And so I created this game where you can go outside and download this game and hit Start Hunt, and you look around on your mobile device, just in the neighborhood you live in, see the footprints and the spoor, the track, start tracking, and
It's like
encounter booby
Pokemon.
traps, like Pokemon Go, exactly. And which Pokemon Go, not last year, but the year before, made $2 billion
Yeah.
worldwide on just in-app purchases, which is insane. So the potential is incredible, and we created a really good game, a really awesome experience where kids can get outside and they can interact with friends virtually. You're not going to get their screens away from them, but if we can add all the other things that the screens
get
take
'em
away, get them
outside.
outside, get them moving,
Yeah.
get them interacting and working with teams and working through strategy and tactics and playing a game where they can interact with people and get outside and get moving. And so we created this, and when the COVID shut down everything, I sat down and I developed the whole thing, the storyline, how it's going to work, all the game, pitched it to some gaming people, pitched it to some Hollywood people. Everyone just got crazy excited about it. So we put together a team, venture capitalists and some legal people and just all the people that put together. We put together an awesome team, and now we're creating this game. And you can go to escapeandevademobile.com, sign up for updates. We're not going to spam anybody, but we'll give you all the stuff that's coming out, all the things that we've shot recently and that we're creating. And we'll be looking for beta testers and all kinds of people to be a part of it. Very exciting.
How close are you to the game being released?
We're at least a year away from the game being released,
Okay.
because we're still raising some money. We still have some fundraising rounds that we're going to go through. We have all the team in place. We have the builders. We have the companies. We have the games all created. It's just a matter of now building it, and then a staggered release throughout. We have some people in China that are going to be working with us there for it. So my show aired in every country except for Canada. So we have something. We don't have a Pokemon Go IP, but we have an IP that is, my Escape and Evade is, everywhere globally. So we have a little hook to
That's
hang it
awesome.
on globally.
So there's finally something that I can let my kids go outside
Yeah.
and still be on their phones.
Yeah,
I got to get them out of the house.
this will get them out of the house. They'll get some exercise.
I want to
going on
see
their
what
phones.
you're building. I want to see you play the game.
Let's do it. You gotta let me know when it drops.
Oh yeah. We'll be letting everyone know. Just go to escapeandevademobile.com and sign up, and we'll let you know all the info.
So Joel, you are a real in-flesh live Rambo plus on steroids. Like I'm sitting here and I'm like, wow, if I could just have a sand speckle of your guts and mind over matter, I'm really inspired.
But you do.
I'm inspired by you.
Thank you.
Like seriously, it's
Thank you.
inspirational to see the power of the mind and the body, and it's given me a lot of food for thought.
Good. Well, one of the
You
things I
think-
believe with every fiber of my being is that everything that I have, you have everything, and you have everything. There's nothing that I've done or any of us have done that someone else cannot achieve or surpass. We are all, this is all within the realms of our human capacity. And so these things, I don't, it makes me uncomfortable when people say things like that sometimes, because then I feel that sells them short. You know what I mean? Because this is just, it's just a matter
No, but what you're showing them is what they're capable of.
Yes, and if that's
so
the
it doesn't
case,
sell them short.
Yes.
It shows them that, and I never understood Dr. Brenner's obsession with Navy SEALs until today.
It's a mindset.
Like it makes
really
me
is.
emotional, like
Exactly.
to know that power of the mind and body.
Yes.
You know, and what you can achieve.
I mean, there's a fair amount of skill involved, but
Well, of
but
course.
the skills
but-
come.
right, but it's it really is a mindset.
It's exactly what it is, and that's exactly what I've said that in so many interviews and so many people, especially when it comes to the escape and evasion and the survival stuff. It is all mindset. Every single thing, every achievement, every obstacle that's surmounted, everything that you come across and that you move yourself forward and through is all because of mindset. I would trade all the skills and all the abilities and everything in my toolbox for mindset. Mindset is everything. You see all these survival stories of, people who, your plane crashed in the Amazon and a 14-year-old girl walks out over the course of 4 months or something like that after everybody dies, or people that just get in these situations. And it's always the little victories, taking it one step at a time and rewarding themselves for the little things and having that positive mindset. If your mindset is not good, you can have all the skills and you'll never make it. If your mindset is there, then that will overcome a lack in so many different ways. It's all mindset.
Shut off the lizard brain.
So I've been telling you, positive mental attitude.
I have that,
Oh, okay.
but I have a lot of fears that are not real, but
Straight
they're
through.
there.
Crocodiles,
through.
great white sharks. you know.
Well, Joel, it is such a pleasure. I'm
Thank
so
you.
glad we got you in studio.
Finally,
and
we
not
did
via,
it.
Not
We
via
did it.
Zoom. And Dr. Brenner really wanted. He was like, I want him in the studio. I hope we can get him in the studio, and I can see why.
We had to drag him back to L.A.
Yeah,
Well, I've got a beautiful woman.
she is gorgeous.
Yes.
she
She
is
is.
gorgeous.
To come back.
But you hate L.A. And
I do.
I don't blame you. I
Yeah.
don't blame you. There's
I
a lot
do.
to hate about Los Angeles.
There's a lot. When you say that back, I say that so many times, and then when you say it back to me, I kind of get critical of myself in saying that, because there's so many great things wherever you may be. It's mindset again. I just talk about mindset
Yeah.
and I talk about hating a place, but I got done with everything that LA has to offer, and it's a much better fit for me out in Tennessee now. But got so
My
many great
cousin just
people.
moved to Tennessee.
So awesome.
She just bought 6 acres in Spartan.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So.
Yep.
That's where it's
So,
at, right?
yeah.
Tennessee?
We're loving it.
Oh wow, amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Well, again,
Thank you
thank
for
you.
coming on.
And
That was
that's
awesome.
your camera right
Pleasure.
there. If you could let our listeners know one more time where to find your game and any social media that you would like to.
Well, thanks for watching, everybody. My name is Joel Lambert. You can find me at Joel5326 on Instagram and escapeandevademobile.com. Hope to see you there.
Thank you,
Awesome.
Joel. That was amazing.
Thank you.
Oh
Thank
my
you.
God, that was just.
Oh.
Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the O.R. with Dr. Brenner. Make sure to subscribe, like, and follow so you don't miss any future episodes. In the meantime, hit me up on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Kevin Brenner MD and KevinBrennerMD.com.